I broke it. So yes, thank you very much for joining me once again on the Clio 182, which I really didn't want to have to make this episode. You might be wondering why I'm holding the bottom pulley in the auxiliary belt. Well, because this flew off on the first drive. I'd picked it up from the garage, had its MOT, passed with flying colours, and I went to the petrol station, put some fuel in, gave it one pull out of the garage, and I just saw a bolt fly off in my rearview mirror. Next thing I know, the engine's dead, no compression whatsoever. And that is because this belt was just dangling there and this was kind of just sitting off to the side. So it was obviously the bolt for this, which is really bizarre because I've gone back through all the footage and I've seen myself actually doing this up. So I don't know whether the bolt snapped or whether it just worked itself loose. I really don't know. But yeah, this engine is now toast. I've picked up another engine. I bought a boroscope to have a quick look inside the engine without having to fully tear it down, because that's more work, more money that we really don't have to spend on this car. So hopefully we can take a look inside the engine, all good. That way we can then take all the bits, good bits, off of this engine, put it onto that one, give it a good clean and a good paint again, and then pop it back in the car, and hopefully no more issues. Let's see. So the first thing I want to do is actually take off the inlet manifold, and I actually want to take off the cam cover because I'd like to have a look to see how much damage has been made, but there is literally zero compression, so I'm pretty sure that all four pistons or all four valves, sets of valves, have been absolutely destroyed. You can't see it on the camera. I've even tried putting the camera in there, but there's bits of bearing just floating around in the top there. So I know that this engine is completely toast, which is unfortunate, but we need to strip this down anyway, and to be honest, the majority of these parts I'm going to have to put onto the engine which I've picked up. So all the inlet manifold that I've painted nicely, I want to use all of that. The new coil leads, spark plugs, if they're undamaged, we can use them. Everything else, like obviously I put that power steering pump and everything on, so we're going to use that. So yeah, basically, I'm just going to need to tear it all down again. Okay, so the engine is now out of the car. I have stripped off the top end to see exactly what's happened here, and there's just these rockers literally everywhere. However, everything else seems in relative good condition. I've used the boroscope there. Pistons 1 and 4 I can see absolutely clear as day, and there's no damage at all. Pistons 2 and 3 I can't quite see. The valve seems to have dropped down, probably because they've just slid down down there, but maybe this will be salvageable at some point. I'm not going to worry about it now though, because obviously I've got the second-hand engine here to build up, so I'm going to build this up, hopefully get it back in the car. Okay, so that's now everything swapped back onto this second engine. I've given it all a good clean, a good paint, everything is now good to go. I'm just praying this thing runs. Like I said, I've looked inside with the boroscope, looks okay. Seems as though it's got compression when I turn it over. Time belt dephaser and everything has now been done. Timing is spot on, so there shouldn't be any reason why this wouldn't run. Fingers crossed, let's just get it in the car and find out. Okay, so the engine is back into the car. It's on 3 out of the 4 engine mounts. The only one that's left is the one underneath, like the dog bone one, so that'll be done when I start tackling everything underneath the car. But for now, all I'm going to do is just start doing the meticulous, tedious task of just putting everything back onto this engine. So all the wiring, all the hoses, coolant hoses, air conditioning pipes, all of that. And then I've got the pile of bits over there that need to go back on as well. So the inlet manifold, the leads, the coil, put the bonnet back on, put the headlight back in. So yeah, wish me luck, and then hopefully we can actually give it a turn and see if this engine actually fires or not. Okay, let's fix this water pump then. So I'm gonna have to take this arch liner off. The water pump sits just there. So I'll take this arch liner off, we'll drop the engine down, we'll take the auxiliary belt off, and then hopefully I can get to all the water pump bolts. You can see one of them there. So there's a lot of them floating around. Take the water pump off, and I'll have to use some silicone sealer. The gasket was new, so it's obviously just not sealed properly. The surface might have not been quite clean enough. But yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to do now. Probably bring the engine down a bit as well. Let's get doing this. I'm not looking forward to this bit at all. Okay, so I've got the water pump pulley off with the belt slack, and you can see where it's dripping. So I think looks as though it's coming from down here, but it could also be running down. So either way, like I said, we're going to be getting it off, and I'll make sure I use some nice silicone sealant. Hopefully no more leaks, but this is really not a nice job. So there is 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts you can see all up there. You can just about see where all the bolts are. Just got to try and get all of them off to pull this thing off. Wish me luck. Yeah, had to pull the engine out again. One of the bolt heads has snapped, so I'm going to have to take a grinder to it. I'm just so done with this now. But I suppose the positive is I can now work on this easier up here, but I've just had to undo all of my work once again. Okay, so the pump is back on. I managed to get it off. Had to grind down the head that had snapped. Luckily that came undone pretty easily. And I've now used gasket sealer as well. So hopefully no more leaks. Now I just need to put this thing back together and back in the car once again. Okay, so the car is back together for the third time. All fresh fluids for the third time. Third time lucky. I can't see any leaks from the water pump this time, so that looks good. So fingers crossed we get it running up to temperature and there's still no more leaks. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to give it a quick turn over, make sure that she starts, everything's good. Not gonna lie, this thing has nearly broken me today, but it's done, it's all back together, no leaks, runs really, really nicely. Just now needs a real good bath and a good paint correction, and this thing will be ready to hit the road. So that's what we're gonna do next time. We're gonna get this thing paint corrected. I'm gonna do it myself. I've bought some new polishing pads. I bought some nice new polish. So hopefully this thing's gonna come out really, really nicely. So until then, thank you very much for watching. See you in the next one.